Hi, this is Gagan Singh, your teacher, and today we are going to study about class 9th biology chapter 1, which talks about the cell. How cell is the basic units of life, and what is the basic difference between a prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell, and the differences between plant and animal cell. It dates back in 1665 when Robert Hooke for the first time saw these tiny structures on a piece of cork with the help of a microscope that he made, and he termed the coin cell. And later on, for the first time, living cells were discovered by none other than Antony van Leeuwenhoek. We know now that as we study more and more about cells in biology, that cell is the basic unit of life. And for the first time, a theory was developed, which is known as the cell theory. Various facts about cell theory were formulated by two German scientists named as M.J. Schleiden and other one Theodor Schwann. M.J. Schleiden formulated this theory for plants, and Theodor Schwann formulated the theory for animals. And the main points of cell theory is that, number one, the unit of structure of all living organisms is the cell. And cell is also the unit of function for all living organisms. And later in 1855, Rudolf Virchow extended this cell theory, and he called it omnis cellula et cellula, which means that all cells arise or form from pre-existing cells. And there are so many things that are in cell theory, and altogether the study of cell is known as cell biology. But in this chapter we are only going to look at the basics points in cell biology. We are going to know about what is the size of the cell, because the size of a cell is mostly microscopic, that we can only see under a microscope. But there are also instances where only a single cell can weigh up to 5 pounds. That is an ostrich egg. And next point is the shape of a cell. We know that the shape of a cell is determined by the type of species or an organism, but mostly the basic biology we study that only few cells like Euglena and WBCs, they change their shape according to different functions and according to different conditions. But mostly neurons, muscle cells and RBCs, they never change their shape. Now let us look about the number of cells. Based on the number of cells found in an organism, the organism can be classified into a unicellular organism or a multicellular organism. But on the basis of their nuclear organization, they can be termed as prokaryotic and eukaryotic. A prokaryotic cell, for example, bacteria, blue-green algae, cyanobacteria, mycoplasma, they don't have a mitochondria or a chloroplast and nuclear membrane. These things are absent. But in a eukaryotic cell, for example in animals or in us and in plants, in most of the multicellular organisms, the nucleus and membrane-bound organelles are present. So this is the basic difference between an eukaryotic and prokaryotic cell. The protoplasm. When we look at a protoplasm, it has been termed by Perkin J and it is noted as the living cell content. And all the living cell content which is found inside the cell membrane is termed as protoplasm. But on the basis of nucleus and a cell, it is divided into two divisions. All the cell living content which is found between the cell membrane and nuclear membrane is known as cytoplasm, and all of it which is found inside a nucleus, it is known as nucleoplasm. For the first time, the term cytoplasm was coined by Colliker in 1863, and nucleoplasm was coined by Van Benden in 1875. So now we will look at some chemical and physical properties of protoplasm. The basic physical property of a protoplasm is that it is a viscous jelly-like structure. It can be watery as well as it can be jelly, and it shows a Tyndall effect. What is a Tyndall effect? A Tyndall effect is when a light is passed through protoplasm in a dark room, it will appear as if a cone structure is present in protoplasm. That is known as the Tyndall effect. And chemical properties are the constituents which are found in the cell, like oxygen, which is about 62%, carbon, which is about 20%, hydrogen 10%, nitrogen 3%, and there are various trace elements as well, like potassium, phosphorus, sodium, chlorine, magnesium, sulfur, iron, and etc. And there are other various trace elements too, like vitamins and other elements which are in a very lower quantities. The basic importance of a cell or a protoplasm which is present inside the cell membrane is the biological properties. The biological properties can be, number one, irritability, which is whenever protoplasm is touched, which means whenever there is a stimuli, it responds to the stimuli. There is conductivity, especially found in neurons in the form of electrical impulses. Then there is metabolism, various metabolic activities. There is growth and reproduction. These are the biological properties of protoplasm. Now let us look at the various parts of a cell. Starting with cell wall. It is a freely permeable, non-living, mainly made up of cellulose, and it is present only in plant cells, and it is situated outer to cell membrane. The function of cell wall is that it maintains the shape of the cell and provides rigidity, and it prevents the cell from bursting when turgid due to endoosmosis. Next comes the cell membrane, or known as the plasma membrane. The characteristic is that it is living, it is selectively permeable, which means that it selects, it allows something to pass through it, and it all at the same time it does not allow other things to pass through which are not beneficial for the cell. The main function is that it provides shape to the cell, and it helps in transportation of material inside the cell. Now comes cytoplasm. Cytoplasm performs various functions because it is the center where most of the metabolic functions happen, and it is present between cell membrane and nucleus. In cytoplasm, there are various cell organelles which are suspended, and it contains enzymes which are beneficial for metabolic activities. And the function is that it acts as a site for metabolic reactions that happens inside a cell. Now, we will look and see that what are the various cell organelles. Starting with ribosome. Ribosome is the smallest cell organelles and they help in protein synthesis. And they are either attached to endoplasmic reticulum or remains free in cytoplasm. What is endoplasmic reticulum? It forms as if it's like a web structure inside a cell which forms a transport system for various enzymatic activities, and it also supports the cell. Now let us see what is Golgi apparatus. It is a flattened sac-like saucer-shaped structure, and its function is that it helps in the formation of enzymes and hormones. They help in the formation of yolk also, which is known as vitellogenesis, and acrosome in sperms, lysosome and cell wall. So they are pretty important. Now let's see lysosome. Lysosomes are small, single membrane bound microbodies, and their function is that they help in intracellular and extracellular digestion. They also digest the cartilage and also helps in the formation of bone. Now most important is the powerhouse of the cell, which is the mitochondria. Mitochondria helps in the formation of ATP, and it is the point where oxidative phosphorylation happens, and thus it is called as the powerhouse of the cell. Next is plastids. They are a double membraned bound cell organelles and they store food. And they are also classified into leucoplast, chromoplast and chloroplast. And chloroplast are the structures that contains chlorophyll in thylakoids. Next comes centrosome. They are only found in animal cells, and a cell organelle without a membrane present near the nucleus containing two cylindrical centrioles. So centrosome is found, it's like a cylinder structure, and it is without a membrane, and it helps in cell division, and the main function it is that it initiates and regulates cell division, and it also helps in the formation of cilia and flagella. Now comes the nucleus. Nucleus controls mainly cell's function, and it is a double membrane bound cell organelle whose shape depends upon the size of the cell. It's like the brain of the cell, and also it's very important for the cell because it helps in cell division, which is known as karyokinesis in cell division, and also it is the structure that helps in passing on the characters to the future progeny. Now comes the next structure that we are going to see is nucleoli. It is a naked structure and it helps in the formation of ribosome. Lastly, vacuoles. Vacuoles are structures that help in storage of food, water, and other numerous elements inside the cell. Now we have understood that what are the various cell organelles, what is cell and what is a cell theory. In next video we will study about what is the difference between an animal cell and plant cell. Thank you everyone for listening and watching this video. I hope this is very beneficial to you. Good luck. Have a nice day.